Hi everyone, it's me Jen and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my life here in Taiwan. So last time I sat down and kind of did like a talking video about a little bit of culture shock that I felt in Taiwan coming from Japan. It kind of did well. I don't know if this one will or not, but I thought this one might be interesting for some people. And I wonder if anything has changed about you guys since living abroad or in Taiwan or, you know, just in another country. I want to talk about things that I kind of have picked up over the years. Some of it can be like, I guess, having to do with aging because I left Canada at 23. Next week, I'm about to turn 32, so yeah. Definitely getting older plays a factor, but also not only is the language different from what I was raised on, values and culture, I feel like it's more of a community mindset than individualistic compared to like Canada. Anyway, so I wanted to get into some of those things that I started doing while living mostly in Taiwan and kind of just touch on some things maybe I picked up in Japan and then brought over with me to Taiwan. So let's get into it. I have a list here. Number one is using something I call a sweat cloth. So I picked it up actually in Japan because Japan's very, very hot. At least I thought Japan was really hot until I moved to Taiwan. In Canada, I grew up not carrying around a handkerchief or a face cloth or a towel or anything like that to help wipe up sweat. And I swear I didn't even know what sweating was until I came to Asia. Cause like, I remember in the winter, our school would be canceled because it was too cold to wait for the school bus. That's what I'm talking about. Like in Canada, I didn't sweat like I did here. That habit I picked up in Japan, I also brought with me over to Taiwan because especially now it's so hot. I'm sweating all the time. If I go outside, I carry around a face cloth to help like take the sweat off me and also to like dry my hands if I wash them. I don't really know if that's common for people to do here, but it's something I definitely do. Number two is sorting garbage. So I grew up in Canada, yeah, you kind of sort your garbage, but also like when I lived in Canada, it might be different than what it is in Canada now. So I wasn't really used to sorting garbage and I moved to Japan and their system of sorting garbage is like a lot. It's a lot to get used to, especially in a foreign language, but oh my God, and then I moved to Taiwan. And the level of sorting garbage here is so high. Like I don't mind doing it, obviously I do it. It was just a lot to get used to at first. So at least I had like Japan as the cushion in between Canada and Taiwan. I wonder if people come from a country where there's like almost zero sorting to Taiwan, if they're just like, whoa, so overloaded because there's so many rules, even like certain garbage bags to use that are like approved by the government. And along the lines of sorting your garbage and kind of like washing it and stuff. Another thing is I freeze my like, not burnables, like compost garbage, I guess. All of the raw scraps that you do when you're cooking or if you're eating something you don't eat at all, that kind of stuff that can be broken down into compost, I freeze it because that's actually sorted into a completely different garbage. So actually where I was in Yokohama in Japan, that just went in with the burnables. The moeru gomi in Taiwan is totally different. I think a lot of households here carry the garbage down every night if you have a garbage room. So instead of leaving it in the kitchen, like in a little tiny special garbage I have for it, which I did when I first got here, my Taiwanese friend mentioned to me, why don't you just put your compost garbage in the freezer? And I'm like, that's an amazing idea. So that's what I do now. I make sure that there's a little space in my freezer and I freeze the compost until I'm ready to go down and put it in the compost garbage downstairs. I feel like I've become even more independent in Taiwan. So yes, I moved to Japan and lived by myself there and you pick up some kind of independence, but I moved to Japan at 23, so I was still quite young. When I first moved to Japan, like I couldn't fathom going to a movie theater by myself or going to eat by myself or taking a trip by myself, doing things by myself. Like, yes, I did it, but I didn't really enjoy it. As I get older, I feel like I don't want that to stop me from enjoying things and I don't want to miss out on something because a friend cannot come and I don't want to go alone. So I really started to embrace that when I moved to Taiwan because I didn't know anyone coming here. So I really just had to come out of that shell, which was already like breaking in Japan, but now it's just like broke open. And here I am taking like solo trips, doing things alone all the time. And I don't mind. I feel like Taiwan is a very, I feel like Taiwan's very easy to maneuver even if you do not speak Chinese, at least in the cities anyway. I'm sorry, my cat. Something else that I do in Taiwan more is using Facebook. I don't just add anyone to my Facebook. My Facebook is very, like my actual personal Facebook is very small. I did create a Facebook page here because everyone has one and everyone asked for it, but like Facebook is not a thing in Japan. It was when I left Canada. Like I had Facebook in high school and university, but it's not, what it is then is not what it is now. And anyway, I just feel like I'm constantly using Facebook here to make appointments, message businesses, make reservations. It was different to get used to, but yeah, using Facebook more. Another thing I do is I search the restaurants that I'm at. I search their menus via social media. If you've ever been to Japan, you probably realize that when you go out to eat, a lot of their menus have pictures on them, or they have little displays outside the front with the plastic food on display, so you can kind of point at what you want, or you know what you're kind of getting. A lot of the cafes or restaurants, they would be popular on Instagram, so it's easy to search the menus. However, their menus itself doesn't have many pictures, so I don't know what I'm getting, and sometimes, you know, Google Translate isn't enough. I'll be like, what does this mean? I don't get it. Some of the really cute cafes will have handwritten menus or menus that kind of look handwritten. They do not work on Google Translate. So searching the cafe's menu on Instagram helps me a lot. Another one, carrying a reusable bag. I constantly have like maybe a tiny bag with me that I can reuse if I buy something, or I feel like a lot of people also carry reusable bags, or they don't use bags so much here. Kind of, you know, promoted that it's bad for the environment, and also you are charged for bags here. While I was leaving Japan, shops started doing that more and more. It just depends on like where you go. I don't know about Canada. I just remember when I was there, we'd go shopping at Sobeys. We would buy their reusable bags. Something that I do in Taiwan is cook less. I'm not proud of it, because I like cooking. I don't like cooking, I like cooking. But at the same time, sometimes I just find it cheaper and very, very convenient in Taiwan to just not eat at home. I feel like the eating out culture here is something I never really experienced. In Canada, it's very expensive to eat out, and then you have to include tip and everything like that. So it's like a luxury. And in Japan as well, like it can be a luxury, but also in some ways to eat out, I found it quite affordable. And then in Taiwan, it's next level affordable if you like eat at the night markets or like a little mom and pop shop. I feel like I cook less at home. Going into that, cooking less at home, I use a lot more Food Panda and Uber Eats than I ever did in Japan. I think only like the last year in Yokohama, Uber Eats came out. Using Uber Eats, using Food Panda, the delivery fee is very affordable compared to like what I would pay in Japan. So I use them a lot more. It like all ties in together with like eating out culture here. Another quick thing is paying first and then eating after. Like a lot of times you'll order and then you pay first and then you get your food. But maybe that also has to do with like, you know, night market culture, which is fine.
I love night markets.
It's very common in Canada to use debit or like Visa debit. It's not so much of like a cash flow culture. And then in Japan, I find it's very cash dominated. It's very rare for people to use their cards, like a debit card, for example. I don't think I ever use like my debit card in Japan, but I do find in Taiwan, I use my Visa debit a lot more. I do, however, still carry cash on me in Taiwan because like, you know, at the night markets and stuff like that, I don't pay with a card. Or like if you go to get your nails done, or sometimes the hair salons, they'll tell you cash only because there's a fee for them to pay and a lot of them don't want to pay it. So in that regard, carry cash, but like everything else, I love that I can just like go to the shopping mall and boop, 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 boop. Of course, if you're at like Sogo in Japan, you can use your credit card, but I'm talking about like Visa debit. I just didn't have that in Japan, so I'm using it a lot more here. Not to say that it's not available in Japan. You know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. I lived in Yokohama, which I believe is the second biggest city in Japan, and public transportation in Yokohama was just like amazing. There's so many trains, and now I live in Hsinchu, and there is a train, but it doesn't run very much and it doesn't run very far. I find a lot of my friends in Taiwan most of them have scooters, and that is what they use to get around. I use public transportation a lot less, and because of that, I feel like I use cabs and Uber a lot more. So like Uber is something that like I would never think to use in Japan because it's quite expensive. Same with taxis. I maybe in 8 years took a taxi like 6 times in Japan because it's not very affordable. I'm pretty sure if I lived in Taipei where like the train systems are like absolutely everywhere, I would be taking the public transportation all the time. Another thing that I have started to use daily here in Taiwan is Google Translate because clearly I don't speak Chinese. It's like a few sentences, that's it. So of course I am using Google Translate a lot more, which I have to say has come a long way. When I moved to Japan, I didn't understand anything at 23, and Google Translate is nothing like what it is today, like then compared to now. It was so rough for like trying to communicate, but now Google Translate, literally you could just hover your phone over a document and it will real-time translate, or you can take a picture of it and highlight certain things. I often use the speech translate, the dialect translate or conversation, whatever it is. If I don't understand what they're saying and they cannot write on my keyboard because if I don't have like the Juin, the Bopamafa keyboard. So instead I just click the talking button and I'm like, please, please say it again. And then they'll say it into it and then be like, yeah, that's okay. And then translate it. And then that's how I sometimes get around. I'm slowly improving, but in some ways it's hard. I just wanted to like share that. I don't know if that's interesting for people or not. I would be curious to know what you think about you, if something has changed or you picked up while living abroad in another country. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, be sure to let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. You can support me over on Instagram, catch me on Facebook, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!